Yeah, thank you everybody for showing up in this webinar. I think this is the topic that Dr. Andrés from the World Organization of Animal Health is going to introduce in the next hour. So altogether, this webinar, we decided to dedicate all the webinar for his presentation on the topic that is falsified and oh my God, now it's
substandard.
Substandard, yeah, substandard and falsified veterinary drugs. It is a very important topic, I would say, and perhaps he will confirm us not only in let's say low-income countries, and I would say also not only in veterinary medicine. There are many reasons that we have to deal with this, because I think that everybody, we should active part in participating in evidencing this and to raise this issue. It is a problem, one health problem. It is a problem that have repercussion on also antimicrobial resistance, in toxicity. So, but Andrés will present us all these things. So Andrés works at as a World Organization for Animal Health. He is also in the, let's say, in the department that deal with the antimicrobial resistance, and he's originally from Spain. I met him in Paris, and as soon as I met him and we discussed about this problem, I told him this is an issue, this is a topic that should be presented to the World World Association for Bioethics. Andrés, so I don't want to waste time. Perhaps you can introduce yourself even better than what I can do, and please, the floor is yours. Thank you for having accepted to give us this speech, because as I mentioned, it is very important. And you see, the many countries are represented, so from all over the world, and therefore the topic is for sure of interest for many of us. So thank you, Andrés.
Thank you very much, Arcangelo, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all members of the World Association for Bioethics. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for the invitation and for the interest of the topic. I think Arcangelo made a very good description of the importance of tackling this problem. And back to my presentation, I'm Andrés García. I'm program manager at the World Association for Animal Health, working in the Department of Antimicrobial Resistance and Veterinary Medicinal Products. I'm veterinarian in training and graduated in Spain. And then I spent 10 years in beautiful Ireland as PhD and postdoctoral fellowship in veterinary parasitology. That's my area of expertise. And also as regulator at the National Competent Authority in Ireland, the Health Products Regulatory Authority, working for assessing safety and efficacy aspects of veterinary medicinal products. And at the moment, I joined WOAH a year and a half ago, more or less, at this stage, and we initiated this project on substandard and falsified. So let me share my screen, and if you could confirm, you can see this slide, the introduction slide.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's there.
Perfect. So thanks. I'll be talking mainly on the activities that WOAH is starting on substandard and falsified veterinary medicinal products, as I was mentioning before. Just to let you know that this work is mostly funded by the Fleming Fund. So WOAH is very thankful for the partners and funding bodies on that work. And this work is also very in line with Mduduzi, which is another of our colleagues at WOAH in the department, and he's doing an immense work. So I didn't want to forget to acknowledge him for his work. I will go starting, first of all, this is the agenda we're going to address today. So first of all, I will explain what's WOAH, because I think many veterinarians are not still familiarized with the acronym of WOAH, and they still refer to a former acronym that we had. So I'll come back to that point straight away. And then I will move to the topic about substandard and falsified veterinary medicinal products. We'll start why, what's the rationale, what's the drive, why we started doing this work, and how we are doing it. What's our strategy or our thinking of how we should address this point. And from there, we'll move the activities that we are doing at the moment and what is our inspiration to move forward. And I will finalize with the take-home messages that I like the veterinarians will take into account, as well as enhancing a bit what's the responsibilities or the roles that veterinarians, veterinary paraprofessionals, and veterinary associations could play to tackle the presence of substandard and falsified veterinary medicinal products. And at the end, we proposed and we agreed that maybe we could make like an open discussion between all members. So we'll share few questions with all of you and we can discuss live. So we want this to be a dialogue. We wouldn't like this was saying what's the vision, what the activities, what we are doing, but we like to hear from you. We like to hear your experiences and what's the importance, the challenges you are facing, and what solutions as veterinarians or associations you see they will be important. I will move to this point at the very end of the presentation, if that's okay. So I will go first to what's WOAH? What's the World Organization for Animal Health? Maybe WOAH is not very well known for many as acronym, but I'm sure if you hear from OIE, it brings some bells and you are way more familiarized. So actually we are OIE, and we are the intergovernmental organization that we are working across borders to improve animal health for animals and therefore our future. Just a reminder to all of you, there was a Printer's pest outbreak in Belgium, and that was the origin of OIE at that time. So in 1924, there were 28 members that sit together and they decided to create OIE just to improve animal health. And this is to ensure coordinated prevention, preparedness, and response in cases outbreaks as the outbreak happened in 1920 occurred. Since that time, the years passed, and because the range of activities and scope of OIE at that time were increasing, but in order to better reflect the name of the activities that we were doing, the name was changed to World Organization for Animal Health. That was in 2022. And as you can see, our activities include, but are not only, the promotion of the veterinary services, working for ensuring food safety and animal welfare. We work in a transparency manner, working towards sanitary safety, always based on scientific information and excellence, and also taking into account the international solidarity. Now we are in 2024, and last week, WOAH celebrated the 100 years. So we are very happy to get to the 100 years, and we hope we continue working and being the reference organization for animal health. At the moment, we have 183 members, and our headquarters are based in Paris, although we also have 13 regional and sub-regional representations across the globe. We have more than 75 official partners and more than 300 reference centers of expertise. And of course, you have our website there in case you would like to have more information about the activities, everything that we do. And now let's move to the topic of today about substandard and falsified. Why is important this topic? What are the consequences that they cause? So first of all, they put in danger the health of our animals, but also the health of humans and the economies of people, because we are not sure about the pharmaceutical, the profile of these components. We don't know whether the safety of the use of these products is ensured. The fact that these products could not be efficacious brings some bells to owners that can consider we are losing the trust from our veterinarians because they are prescribing products, so they are providing products that are not working. And from the antimicrobial resistance perspective, we have to be sure that we are using correct products that are authorized, because the substandard products in particular, when they have the active ingredients below the quality, below the concentration that was approved, we are not using the products responsibly, and therefore we are exacerbating the problem of antimicrobial resistance. This could be also attributed to, for instance, antiparasitic resistance, which has a very similar, although the resistance selection is different, they also impact the misuse of antiparasitics contributes to the presence of antiparasitic resistance. So as I mentioned, you have impacts not only for veterinary medicinal products, but also for vaccines, which are very important for animal disease control. It's affecting regulated markets. The presence of some of these products make gray-black markets. And it's not only an issue for the terrestrial animals, but also in aquatics. And of course, it has an impact from the economic perspective, although we don't know the scope of that, but we can ensure that if we not treat the animals correctly, there is some repercussions from the economical standpoint. Now, what's the prevalence, or what's the scale of the problem of the presence of substandard and falsified products? We all know they are there, but we don't know exactly. And the figures I'm going to give you now, we have to be careful when we interpret them, because there are not many studies at the moment done in the veterinary domain. We see some publications coming up in the recent years, but just a couple of examples that I could see. First of all, Health for Animals, which is an association from the private sector, made an estimation in 2017, and they indicated that around 3% of the products that are circulating were estimated as illegal. The second figure I'd like to give you is based on a metadata analysis conducted by a research group in Oxford. They concluded that 52% of the products that were circulating in Africa and Asia, based on those studies included, I'm not saying all of them, but based on the studies they used on the research, were estimated as substandard and falsified. But as I mentioned, we have to be careful in the interpretation, and we need more evidence to conclude that. We acknowledge it's very difficult to know that, but it's very important to continue working on that. So the World Organization for Animal Health initiated the work towards substandard and falsified products, mainly based on two ideas that we have. First of all, we have our terrestrial animal health code, and we have one article there, Article 3.411.5, which states the veterinary legislation and says that veterinary legislation should provide a basis for actions to address a series of things, but one of them is a system of surveillance of the quality of veterinary medicinal products marketed in the country, including a system of surveillance for falsification. The second point I'd like to highlight is in 2018, the World Organization for Animal Health hosted a global conference on AMR, and there were a series of recommendations in that conference. In the sixth recommendation, stated that members should explore the possibility of building an information system of falsified and substandard drugs in the animal sector that are illegally circulating within and between countries, and building on the experience of the monitoring systems that WHO set up for drugs for human use. And the idea of this is trying to bring a One Health approach when the systems are based in the WHO and from WOAH. But now we are talking about substandard and falsified products, but what are they? What's the definitions for that? So at the moment, WOAH does not include these definitions on the glossary in their code, but the definitions that we use are based on the experience of WHO, and we consider in the purpose of the work that we are doing at the moment acceptable. So when we speak about substandard veterinary medicinal product, we are talking an authorized veterinary medicinal product that fail to meet either their quality standards or their specifications, or both. So basically, once the product is being authorized, it's been authorized based on a quality specifications, and if they do not meet them anymore when they are in the field, we consider it substandard. Falsified products, on the other hand, are unauthorized veterinary products that deliberately or fraudulently misinterpret their identity. And I'm not talking here about counterfeits, because sometimes people use falsification or counterfeiting indistinguishably, but there is an IPR aspect on that. And as from an organizational standpoint, we cannot identify when the product is counterfeit or falsified. So we just mention falsified, and we leave this to decide by people with more expertise on that topic. We also have unregistered or unlicensed products, which are veterinary products that has not undergone evaluation or approval by a national or regional regulatory authority for the market in which they are marketed to distribute. So could be a product registered in one country, but not registered in another one. And sometimes what we see in our experience where countries start reporting, they report unregistered products, not substandard or falsified. So they haven't been assessed from a safety, quality, safety, and efficacy aspects in their country, therefore they are not registered. We have different criteria to differentiate when a product is a suspect or a confirmed from each of the cases. And as you can see, we have the criterion displayed, including whether they fail the testing of laboratory or in the field, or whether the manufacturer or the marketing authorization holder has confirmed whether they did or did not make the product. So based on those criteria is when we make the assessment, we say there were some cases confirmed or some remained as suspect. And for the purpose of the work of the World Organization for Animal Health, we are focusing mostly on substandard and falsified. So at the moment, whilst some of the national competent authorities can report the presence of unregistered products, at a global scale, we do not include them in the alerts notification, as some of these products are registered in some countries, and therefore they are meeting the quality criteria agreed by or approved by those competent authorities. So what's the theory of change, or why are we addressing, or what are the strategy that WOAH is following for that? So we made creating a building, right? So we have our foundations, which are our inputs, or what's the sources that we have. Then we have the columns, which are pillars of our work with different activities. And then we have the roof, which will be what's the impact, what's the expected. So we have participation from countries across the globe. We have coordination or collaboration between agencies or ministries. We have agreements with our partners and networks and the funding. But basically, I'll go through the 5 pillars that we are working. So in order to tackle substandard and falsified, WOAH is working towards 5 main pillars. First of all, is towards the development of a veterinary monitoring and surveillance system for reporting substandard and falsified products. I'll come back to this point later on because it's the most advanced. The second pillar we are working is guidance that we can provide to national competent authorities, veterinarians, for how to identify these products, how to create a post-marketing surveillance, how to develop traceability systems, good distribution practices, etc., etc. The third pillar we are working on is to develop laboratory networks within regions so that we can increase the capacity of testing of these products. Because at the end of the day, it's very important to have the confirmation of the case by laboratory testing in most cases, particularly for substandard. Our fourth pillar is to explore the possibility of doing field testing or surveillance like trials in countries where we do of testing in the field. And finally, there is communication. This is a more cross-cutting approach because there are many stakeholders involved in different ways of making the communication. So we are trying to reach as many stakeholders as possible as today in this webinar with with the World Association for Pediatrics. What we expect after applying these 5 pillars is, first of all, we want to have a good understanding of the scale of the problem of substandard falsified veterinary products globally and at the regional level, and to identify what are the needs that our members have in order to have better understanding of the scale of the problems in their territories. We also expect to have engagement by our members with the surveillance, with global surveillance system that we are developing in a coordinated. Thirdly, we want to improve cross-border coordination between our members and other actors that are responsible for the registration, surveillance, control of veterinary medicinal products. We'd like to improve the capacity of our members to detect and remove these products from circulation in their countries. And finally, and this is mostly based on the third column, we want to ensure we can create sort of laboratory networks that are able to detect more confirmatory cases of these products. Ultimately, our impacts and goal is we want to reduce the presence of substandard and falsified veterinary medicinal products in the field. We want to ensure the health of our animals, and we want to make sure we are not creating more problems for curbing antimicrobial resistance. And also we want to improve food safety and the economy of all those farmers working with the animals. So I'll go mostly to the activities that we are doing at the moment, and I start with the first pillar, which is the most advanced, which is the development of an information system for reporting substandard and falsified products. So this started in 2022, and at the moment we have run 2 pilots. So the first pilot lasted 1 year. It was done using an Excel spreadsheet and all in English, whereas we had another pilot last year, and we used more like a SharePoint where all countries participating were able to report, and we increased the languages available to 3, which are the 3 official languages at WOAH. So that increased their participation. During the first pilot, we had 14 countries, whilst in the pilot phase 2, which finalized in December last year, we got up to 42 voluntary members from all regions. And I always emphasize, and I'm very grateful for all those countries participating, because their participation is key to make sure that we develop at the end a fit for purpose system. And as you can see, all regions were represented. We had 43% of those 42 countries participating from Africa. We had 21% from the Americas, 21% from Asia, but we also have from Europe and from the Middle East. The way the report system works is mainly when a product is identified in the field or by the manufacturer or the distributor or by veterinarians or even the farmer or the end user, they should notify the suspicious to the national competent authorities. So they should be in contact with them. And there in the veterinary services, we have our focal point for veterinary products who is expected to report to WOAH. Once WOAH receives the notification, we create an assessment and we categorize as a confirmed case, suspect case, it's a substandard, it's a falsified. We try to follow up with the manufacturer, we follow up with country, and therefore we give recommendations. Now, WOAH is not responsible for giving and doing actions in place. We just give recommendations to the national competent authorities, and it's them who decide what actions to take into account. Sometimes we noted that farmers or veterinarians do not know where to report. And this is something we expect, we encourage always to put them in contact, but they have the opportunity, or they'll have the opportunity to contact to WOAH just for making a report. And therefore we can follow it up to the national competent authority for their evaluation. As I mentioned, till last year, we had what we call pilot phase 2. And this year we are launching this new pilot phase. It remains pilot, but we decided to call it VSAFE, standing for Veterinary Surveillance System for substandard and falsified veterinary medicinal products. We are going to make the open call during this month, and we expect to have more countries, veterinary services, joining the program, the pilot. So for this, as I mentioned, we created the SharePoint. As you can see, this is a screenshot of what the interface looks like. Now, access to this is only for our focal points and people nominated by our delegates. It's not open to the public yet, but it's a platform inclusive. We don't want to put borders or barriers between our members. There is no judgment and no shaming. The purpose of this project is never going to be to shame or to negatively impact our members. What we want is to understand what's the gravity of the problem, the scale, how we can support them to reduce the presence of these products, and therefore we can use data based on facts that's happening in the field. This system allows our members, first of all, to have access to the alerts that WOAH is receiving from the rest of their countries. And all these alerts are made at regional level. So we do not disclose the country where it's happening, we disclose the region that is affected. Because in that way, countries are more aware of what's going on and they can decide to put actions on it. It's a point that members can have access to different guidelines that we are going to develop at WOAH in the near future, but also guidelines that are currently available in other jurisdictions. It's a point to have assistance from our team. It's a point where countries can have their own data. So it's very key for countries, for instance, who do not have a system in place for analyzing trends by years. So it's a sort of repository for them or database. And also a point for interacting with other colleagues in case they are suspicious of a product that might come in from other countries. This is the form that we are using at the moment when one of our focal points would like to report an incident. And this is mainly the information that we ask. And I think it's very relevant for veterinarians to know because you are part of the as well of the reporting and when you have a suspect. So what's the information that we are asking to our focal points or to anyone who is reporting? First of all, you have is 4 categories mainly. We have the details of the suspect, you have details of the discovery, and then we have the current response. I just highlighted in orange, which we consider is the minimum information that is required for an assessment, which is first the brand name, what is the active substance and the strength, what is the manufacturer or marketing authorization holder, registration number, batch number, expiry date. These are crucial just to know whether it's registered or not, and so that we can put actions for recalling or recommendations for recalling or if there is any adverse reactions that we can follow up. The date of discovery, location where it was discovered, very important as well, and the reasons of the discovery. During last year, and this is still preliminary data because we are still assessing something of the forms that we received a total of 25 incidents and 55 veterinary medicinal products were affected. From this, from the incidents that were either substandard or falsified, less than 30% remained as suspect. So the other, a bit more than 70% were confirmed cases because we have confirmation from the marketing authorization holder or manufacturer that they did not make the product, or they made the products, but the quality criteria failed. As you can see on the pie chart on the right side of the screen, 22% of the products actually were antimicrobials. Another 22% were antiparasitics, 21% were vaccines, and 14 were, here they are categorized antiparasitic antimicrobials, but these are antimicrobials with protozoa activity, so as coccidiostax, so products like this. The main sites of discovery for many of these products were at selling point. There were one case in particular of online sales, and I'll come back to this point, the importance of the threats that online sales can be done if it's not used properly. Some cases of discovery were at import during customs, and even they reached the field. And in many cases, the reason suspicious, you can see a bit less than 40% were by veterinarians. So this again, highlighting the importance that you can have in the fight for these products. So I'll come back to this point later, but please, one of the main recommendations that we have for veterinarians is if you have a suspect of a product, do not hesitate in contact your national competent authority, let them know so that we can follow up the case. This is an example of one of the products that we received during the notification. It's coming from Africa, and it's the name is Contractic. It's a dip and spray. And as you can see, this was a falsified product. As you can see on the pictures, there were differences in the triangle of warning of danger between the original and the falsified. And there were also differences in the coding they're using for the batch number. So usually if we do not pay attention, we can, if we are not familiarized with the products, we might not know. But as veterinarians, if we are used to working with certain products, we can easily identify discrepancies or mismatches on the labels. So this is like the first screening part that we can do, just we have a suspicious or not. Because there was a suspicious, they went to laboratory testing, and as you can see, based on the parameters, the appearance failed, the color was not as expected. But the most important part I will go is the presence of both active ingredients of alpha-cypermethrin and chlorphenidphos, and they were known. So this product was a falsified product, saying that it was for tick control, and there was no active ingredients of that. So as veterinarians, you can understand from an African context, the problem of using a falsified acaricide, that you cannot put control, you cannot implement tick control. We had other examples that I did not include just for keeping the presentation shorter, but we also had the similar reports for intramammary suspensions for treatment of mastitis, with no antimicrobial, or with the concentration of antimicrobial below the one specified in the label. So from the antimicrobial resistance perspective, it can be a very it's a very important product to look at and to watch out. This is an example of the alerts that we are publishing in our same SharePoint to those members enrolled to the pilot phase 2. And as you can see, in this case, we gave the name of the country because the member authorized to its name. But from this year, it was decided that the alerts will no longer be named at country, even if the country allows, but at the regional level, just to make more awareness, or to think that the problem is not specific to one country, but to a region per se. And as you can see, we have the details, we have pictures that were provided where the discrepancies are found. And these are very important as well for other countries who might experience similar aspects, and they can compare based on those pictures whether we have this suspicious and they also notified in this other part of the world, and therefore it's very likely to be the same case. Ultimately, what we want to achieve is a system more sophisticated, not very complicated, but efficient, that countries can use to report any time of the incident, but we want to ensure it's used for other purposes. For instance, with our partners from other international organizations, a way that we can share data always under the consent of our members, just to tackle from a One Health perspective this issue, to have collaboration with customs or with the enforcement, so that we can reduce the presence of these products in the field. We also want a system that is interoperable with our internal platforms and systems at WOAH. For instance, the Animus, which is the platform used for collecting antimicrobial use by countries. We can see similarities or interoperability as to whether a substandard or falsified product antimicrobial has an impact on the data collection. with other systems that are actually at the moment in the field. Could be very interesting to see their interoperability or uploading the reports to our system. With industry, it will be very important to know from them in advance if they have some quality aspects of recalls in the field. But as I mentioned before, we shouldn't trespass the responsibilities already stated, and we always encourage to do that through the national competent authority. So this is just to complete the picture in cases there is not a good communication between national competent authorities and the other partner stakeholders. NGOs located in the field that might be giving support to low, middle-income countries, they have a key role and they are very exposed to this type of products. So it will be very important to hear from them. And also from different associations, and I took the liberty to include here the World Association for Pediatrics, because we consider that our collaboration could be very important. So please do not hesitate if you have a suspect, first of all, to notify to your national competent authority, but secondly, just to let you know that you have the opportunity to contact our team at any time if you want some information or to have some clarity of a specific case. Ultimately, we want to create a system ensuring the security of every data that we collect and also confidentiality, which is very important for our members. We are working in communicating all our activities to different workshops, events, and networks. For instance, we attended the first Global Joint Summit for Human and Veterinary Medicines Regulatory Authorities to Preserve Antimicrobials in Geneva last year. This was an event organized by the quadripartite organizations. We are working with regulators as well as RACNA. They created this network, and they have the interest of working on substandard and falsified. They noted this a key factor for regulators to tackle antimicrobial resistance. But also we are working at different workshops organized by WOAH to our focal points to give the message of the work that we are doing. But of course, we need to make awareness above or beyond our members. So opportunities like today to pediatrics or other veterinary associations or farmers are very important. This is the other activities that we are working. So we are starting developing guidance on post-marketing surveillance, trying to make laboratory networks and see how we can facilitate or start piloting post-marketing surveillance in the field in low-income countries. But this is more in the long term of the work that we are planning to do. But now I think the most important part, as veterinarians or veterinary paraprofessionals or the associations, what can you do to tackle the presence of these products? So I make this prevent, detect, response approach because I think it's very important to distinguish at each step. First of all, veterinarians have key for all the three aspects from the beginning till the end. So to prevent, just ensure you are accessing to veterinary medicinal products from regulated sources, and key special attention to online sales. I think this is more towards farmers that when they have access to veterinary services or do not have access to authorized products, they try to find other ways because they have animals that are under their care that they need support. But sometimes if it's not used correctly, it's a big entry of these products in the market. Use registered veterinary medicinal products, ensure they're used within the expiry date and respect the storage conditions. Sometimes products are compliant from the manufacturer, but then it's not kept under the refrigerator where it should be for a vaccine or other components. So otherwise, the active ingredient might degrade and we have serious consequences. And communicate with farmers of the importance of use good quality of veterinary medicinal products and to keep the storage conditions and within the expiry date. As veterinarians, when you're using a product, check the label, check the package. Is it consistent to my usage or do I see some inconsistencies? Check the components. is the consistency of the color, is it as usual or is something weird there? If you have suspicions, you can check with your national competent authority if there's been a recall or if there is an alert submitted for this product, so that you are sure you are using the correct product, or you are not using one product expected to be recalled. And if that's the case and you have the suspicions and you have with your national competent authority discussed, just support them to collect it so that it can be laboratory testing can be performed. Let's put a picture as well of one communication that we shared about what can you do. And we are happy to share a similar document at the end of this call to the rest of the network with no problem. Last response, mostly in line with what I was mentioning before, contact your national competent authority anytime if you have a suspicion of a product. When you contact your national competent authority, give at least this minimum information. What's the brand name, the active ingredient and the strength, the registration number, what's the expiry date, and the location and date of the suspect, and why you consider it why it's a suspect. If there is any adverse reaction noted after its use, just note it and use pharmacovigilance systems for reporting this case. Because sometimes, whilst pharmacovigilance and substandard falsified are different, there might be some complementarity for that. And that gives a better idea of how adverse reaction is due to the active ingredient per se, the toxicological profile, or is because misuse or use of a substandard or falsified product. And anytime, if you have pictures of these products that you have suspect, keep them and share them with your national competent authority. That will help others in case they find a similar situation to identify them. And as mentioned before, just facilitate the collection of any suspect that you have to your national competent authority. I know on paper sounds all very good and very nice, and I understand the challenges to keep all that. But you know, we are explaining all the time the ideal scenario, but we acknowledge in certain circumstances, in remote areas, it's more complicated. But this is the recommendations that we give. What can you do as well as association? You can disseminate, you can show to your farmers, share experience between you. If you have the suspect, you have found this product, share it with others, share it with us as well. Bring awareness to the network and bring awareness to farmers. Also, let us know if there is some challenges or some guidance that you need. What type of guidance do veterinarians need to report or to identify? What are the challenges you encounter and what solutions and recommendations you have to this? You may have one perspective that other stakeholders have, and I think it's important to hear from all of them. And finally, for our system, you will have the opportunity to share any incidents you encounter. Always recommended to share with your national competent authority first, but otherwise you can use our form. You have the QR code in case you'd like to have a look at the reporting system that we have as an example. And finally, if you have pictures of products that you encountered, please do not hesitate to share them as well. We have our email address that you can use at any time to contact our team in case you want to report something or you like some more information or all that. So what are the take-home messages that I have for you today? First of all, that the role of veterinarians in the animal health sector is of pivotal importance to put actions against the presence of substandard and falsified veterinary products. And please report any suspect you have to your national competent authority. The second message I'd like to give you is the WOAH is initiating a monitoring and surveillance system for substandard and falsified products, because we want to understand at global level what's the global scale and impact of these products, but always through validated evidence. We want to identify the vulnerabilities and influence change to all countries, and finally to provide technical support and capacity building when needed. And our last take-home message is communication and collaboration between all stakeholders involved including veterinary associations, is essential for the success in preventing, detecting, and responding against substandard falsified products. So that will be all for me in terms of substandard falsified, but I take the chance to let you know that we are also working on antimicrobial resistance, and we have in our portal targeted toolkit where we have some guidance for veterinarians and farmers. So please do not hesitate to go to our website and download them, because you'll have guidance of use for the responsible and prudent use of antimicrobials. So with all that, maybe we can go through the discussion, and I will hope to have a more interactive way. Maybe Arcangelo, I can pass the floor to you and we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrés. So thank you for this really interesting presentation. I am sure that the awareness of this problem in all of us, in the participant, was not as it is now. I'm sure that really we were not aware of this big problem that you mentioned it, and I suppose that the majority of the publications are related to Asian and African countries, but I suppose that this is a problem perhaps in many other countries, and perhaps you can give some comment on that. Thank you for having also indicated us what could be the role of all of us as a single veterinarians and also as an association. We will see what we can also do. I don't know. I would like to start the discussion. If there are some questions, I saw that there is in the chat there is a comment. Otherwise, if there are,
do you consider that the presence of substandard falsified veterinary products is a problem in your country and area? I think based on the chat, we've seen some comments and reactions on that we can have a better idea of the network. That would be great. We also like to know, based on your experience, which are the most affected drug classes for being substandard falsified? You think are antimicrobials, you think are vaccines, antiparasitics, hormones, and why do you think that's the case, that those drug classes are most likely to be targeted as substandard falsified? What are the challenges that you think veterinarians and farmers face for the presence of this, and what are their consequences? Another question we have, are you currently able to detect a substandard falsified product? What's the criteria you usually follow? And do you report that? Do you let the national competent authorities know? And finally, what actions you think that will be effective for reducing the presence of these products globally? So that's all the questions that we have. And here I remind you the website, the email address of our team for substandard falsified products. Please feel free to come back to us, and please feel free. We like to hear experiences that you know, or situations where you have faced a product and what the consequences are, because it's very important to share with others that might be in the same position. And I think it's very good for awareness to all the rest of the stakeholders. So that will be all for me.
Thank you, Andrés, for these inputs. I think they are very interesting also for internal discussion, or that we can prompt for our networks. Also, we can also do within the World Association for Pediatrics. I have two more questions. André, this is a very good opportunity for our young researcher, and it is a Gustav Rosenberger Memorial Fund. You know, this prize award is provided to every year, and it is a 10,000 euro award funded by the Beringer Ingelheim, and it is in the name of Professor Gustav Rosenberger. Professor Gustav Rosenberger is a very famous. Everybody who works with cattle knows perfectly his name, also not only for the books, but many people attended, visited, or attended the clinic, the German clinic, especially in Hanover, where Professor Gustav Rosenberger was director for many years until '83. And also Professor Gustav Rosenberger is one of the founder of the World Association for Bioiatrics. This Gustav Rosenberger award is for young and promising veterinarians who further develop bovine medicine in general, that preferably works in a specific bovine medicine discipline that needs further development, for young veterinarians that will use the grant for an educative period for at least 3 months, which is intended to increase the candidate's knowledge on bovine veterinary medicine by following courses or doing research, whatever. Is a veterinarian working in bovine medicine and has been graduated no longer than 10 years. I think it's a very good opportunity. Therefore, if there are young veterinarians here during the webinar, or if you know young veterinarians that you consider worth of being awarded, please let them submit. The submission deadline was postponed. It was originally at the end of January, but just as we had this webinar, the committee decided to postpone the deadlines until February 9. The award will be, the ceremony of the award will be during the next World Bioiatric Congress. That I remind you, it will be in Cancun, Mexico, from 20 to 24th May. So the gustavrosenberger.com is the webpage where everybody can find more information and also the form to apply. I just remind you that this webinar, such as all the other webinars that we had this year, so the last year actually, are in the YouTube channel of the World Association for Bioiatrics. Therefore, just Google on that. And I would say that's all. Again, I remind you for who has the possibility to attend the World Bioiatric Congress in Cancun in 108 days. And yeah, that's all from my side. Again, Andrés, thank you. I go here to this page. Thank you very much, Andrés, for your kindness. We will keep this all your suggestions, your comments, and your inputs in our work. I'm sure we will find other way of discussion. Therefore, thank you very much. Thank you to all participants. It was very, I think, with a very good discussion. Perhaps there would have been other question, but so we have time to discuss more on this. Thank you, Andrés. I hope we will meet in Paris at the General Assembly. Yeah, what can I say? Nothing more. Just only thank you, and you will be informed about the next webinar as soon as we will have decided the date, the schedule, and the next topic that I hope it will be so interesting as the one of today. Peter, do you have something to add as a secretary?
No, nothing to add. You have said everything. Fantastic.
Okay, therefore.
Thanks, Andrés.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Andrés. Thank you very much again. Keep in touch. And
thank you for the Association Bioiatrics. Much appreciated.
Thank you,
Have a very nice weekend.
Bye. Keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye, Prof.